Welcome to Make It Real, a series dedicated to taking a close look at critical, complex issues facing our society. My name is Justin Paris, and I'm happy to be your host. Today, we will be looking at one of the thorniest issues confronting us locally, the issue of homelessness, and what you can do to join the movement for change.
And my name is Roxanne Jansen. I'm co-host of today's show. Homelessness is such a thorny problem because of the many issues of those who are unhoused, the homeless, and how it not only affects the homeless individual, but also their families, friends, and community. To get us started, we have an interview with our field crew taped earlier with Al Casciato, a retired San Francisco Police Department commander who has a personal story of shedding light on many of these issues. Let's watch.
My name is Al Casciato. I'm a retired San Francisco police captain. I'm currently in retirement, a consultant assisting nonprofits. Homelessness means a lot to me because I've had personal family experience with it and also professional experience with it, and I've gotten a view of it in both ways. My brother in particular was homeless for many years in this area here where I'm now consulting during my police career, and I interacted with him during that period of time, and so I have a lot of experience of what he went through, the challenges he went through with drugs, mental health, and the attempts to get out of the homelessness, and how the system worked and did not work for him, and what finally occurred with him. So, but I'm proud and very happy to say that he is today 12 years sober and clean, and he's living a very good life. At 24, when I was 24, and I was already in my career, in process of getting married, etc., he was 16 years old, and our father passed away. So he lost the parental guidance at that point in time. It wasn't that he became homeless immediately. It was a process of evolution. As the drugs played into his work, at first it's work problems, and then some home problems, relationship problems, keep maintaining his ability to stay housed. So he went from living in, he was living in an apartment and he had conflicts. So he had to leave the apartment. He went to other places and he had conflicts. It slowly evolved. Then he ended up in his car, living in his car, and refusing other assistance. He refused my sister and I's attempts to get him housed. We had the money to get him housed. We wanted to get him housed, but he didn't want to. He preferred being on the street. He preferred being in his car. So finally one day he decided, I want to come in. I need some help. And I tried to get him into every program in San Francisco, and nobody would accept him. It was like a 6-week wait or a 4-week wait, but you have to move on this. And so I tried, and I was trying to get him in, and we're talking to him, and over about a week period of time, I couldn't get him in here, but my sister found a place in San Mateo County, and San Mateo was called Project 90. They put him in one facility in South San Francisco in a house. And then a number of years ago, the three members of that group were offered housing at a home in South San Francisco by one of the former graduates of the program. And they were in that home, and they were in that home until about 6 months ago, where the original owner died, and naturally his family wanted to sell the home and collect the funds and so forth. So now he moved in with my sister, and he has been working since he's been sober at San Francisco International Airport, and he has a lady friend that they are very supportive of each other. They go to church every Sunday. They assist in programs that assist people that are in need, and so that's been a very good outcome. But the cycle on the streets We feel that, and we've talked a lot about it, is needs to be handled, but it has to be handled in a compassionate way. I think that the people that are on the street, they're there for various reasons. Those who are there for mental and substance issues, we should be taking off the street, holding them for 14 days to detox them. And I saw the detoxification process with my brother when we got him off the street and into Project 90. Hold them so that they can make a sustained decision to help themselves. Then we can transfer them directly to a program to where they're going to have the emotional support, and those programs need to be very strictly adhered to, not by them, those who are sick, but by the people who are taking care of them, that make sure that they're doing it correctly and that they're doing it compassionately, they're not taking advantage of them. And that's a thing that has to be done. The other social issues that we have, we need to assist those who are homeless because of economic reasons. There are a lot of good things in the city, in the peninsula, in the United States, but they're not looked upon. We're painting our society with the doom and gloom brush as opposed to painting it with an uplifting brush.
Al's story depicts the sense of helplessness that affects everybody in some way. Our families and our communities whose time, money, and resources are diverted. The police who manage mental health issues instead of controlling crime. And firefighters who respond to encampment emergencies instead of fighting fires.
Homelessness is a national issue. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, almost 600,000 people are homeless across America, and the number is increasing. In the Bay Area alone, 35,000 people are homeless, according to Bay Area Council Economic Institute.
Discussing the different dimension of homelessness, we are delighted this evening to have guests Lydia Kou, Mayor of Palo Alto, Joanne Price, co-founder DignityMoves, and Tom Myers, Executive Director, Community Services Agency.
Tom Myers has witnessed the many challenges of homelessness. Thank you, Tom, for joining us. Explain to us how homelessness turns a person's world upside down.
Well, actually, there's a couple of ways when you talk about measuring homelessness. There's, of course, data and analytics and so forth. But the other way is really on a very personal level, and that's where we need to understand the personal costs that develop when a person experiences homelessness. I'm thinking of two stories in particular in my experience. One is a young gay couple, both of them graduates of foster care, both of them without families that would support them, and both of them coming together to find each other and living in a car. And we hear that homelessness does not look in any one particular way. There are people that sleep rough, there are people that find themselves in shelters, and a lot of people find themselves in vehicles. And this young couple found themselves in vehicles. But the issues that were addressed by this situation was the fact that we see so many more LGBTQ individuals that are homeless that are never talked about. And this is particularly true of LGBTQ youth. The other issue is people living in cars. And that is one of the things that gets a lot of attention is people living in RVs or people living on the streets. The majority of the people who are living in vehicles that we see at Community Services Agency are actually living in cars. Okay. The other issue that I think is a story that comes to mind is that of a gentleman who was dealing with schizophrenia. And this brings up, of course, the issue of mental health and how difficult it is with someone who had a family right here in the local community, who has a family that could support them, but has no way of being able to live within that family structure because of their schizophrenia.
As both Al and Tom underscore, homelessness and its root causes are not easy to resolve. Homelessness is often the result of a complex web of factors: unemployment, mental health challenges, and lack of affordable housing.
Here to talk about some of the local challenges and lifeline solutions is Lydia Kou, Mayor of the City of Palo Alto. Lydia, what is Palo Alto's experience and hope?
Good evening, Roxanne and Justin. Thank you for having me. I will have to say that throughout many decades ago, we've had many thoughtful leaders and community leaders as well, and they have gone about making sure that affordable housing, truly affordable housing, was part of the solution to be inclusive of people. And so in the past, Palo Alto actually has been a leader of the production of affordable housing. And at one point, it was actually the second highest per capita in Santa Clara County. And that is for the below market rate, deed restricted type. And, since then, for the last 30 years, we did drop off. Land values have gotten a lot more higher. But in 2017, since 2017, the City of Palo Alto has actually dedicated about over 52 million in land and funding housing funds in order to accomplish our affordable housing. I did forget to mention also that in the past many decades ago, Palo Alto did also, in addition to building affordable housing, did also put together and built the Opportunity Center. And through that Opportunity Center, they addressed many of the homeless, people who needed a place to live, so there are affordable units there, but also where they can eat, and for people to come in and to take a shower, and also they have mailboxes for them to pick up their mail. So, all of this is a progression in what we want in our community, and to be thoughtful and inclusive. And then since 2017, in 2018, there was a point in time count, and I remember joining the effort and participating, and was paired with a young lady who had a young baby, infant actually, and we went out to scope our neighborhood, and she would point out where she knew homeless people were living, and some of them were living in vans. And she pointed out 2 vans, and she said, I know there's 5 in here and 6 in there. And she said, I know because that's my family. And when I asked her, so what happened? And basically, she has a degree in teaching, and she became homeless because of medical issues. Both her and her husband fell ill, and then their medical bills just got so high that they could not stay in their home anymore, and they ended up in a van, and they had a baby. So through that count, I realized that, we need to have safe parking areas for people. I mean, she's a mom. She has her children and an infant. And so a colleague of mine, we decided that we needed to address that, and we brought to council and colleagues' memo where we introduced a safe parking lot. So through that, it's a progression. We have to address the most needed and a step up and step up, so that we're addressing the transition. And now we have 4 congregational faith-based parking lots where vehicles can go for the evening, and so that they can be safe. And I have to say thank you to Tom and his model, and that's where we kind of came up with following the model. Why reinvent the wheel, right? But since then also, we've partnered with the county where we can have RVs move into the parking lot. And so we're focused on people with families and ensuring children can go to school so that they continue with their education. But also, we also want to make sure that we're addressing people with special needs, people that are of the lower income. So we're very happy now. We have so many below market rate, deed restricted, subsidized housing that is coming on. It's in the pipeline, getting entitlements and so forth. So with the county, we have a 50-unit, 30 to 60% area median income for special needs. We have another one that is teacher housing, that is for workforce teacher housing. We have another one that is about 129 units that is also deed restricted for 30 to 60% AMI through Catholic Charities. And all of this is because of private-public partnerships, as well as making sure that we have state and local funding. But we also found out that through all of this, land values, a lot of the state housing laws actually, which are unfunded, cause us to upzone, and so land values are increased, and then construction costs are increased. Now, in order to build a unit, a housing unit, it's between 900,000 to 1,000,001. So it's impossible without subsidies. And where do we go from here is what I'm kind of wondering. So the hope is we focus on being intentional of what we want to have in our community and to address housing for the homeless. But we need to make sure it's purposeful and not deviate and follow propaganda and forget what is the real matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Kou, for sharing your insights and ideas with us here today. Joanne Price, co-founder of DignityMoves, has a perspective that breaks misconceptions and offers Bay Area strategies that just might be major steps toward a solution. Joanne.
Hi, thank you for having me here this evening. And I just want to thank Tom and Mayor Kou for the great work that they're doing in the community, and we're building off of that. And some of the statistics that Roxanne mentioned, I want to kind of hone in on. You mentioned that there's 600,000 homeless in the United States. 30% are in California, but half, about 230,000 of that 600 are unsheltered. And half of that number live in California. And that's an important number to remember, because that's the people living on the streets. That's the people Tom mentioned, living on the sidewalks, living in the vehicles. And they are the most challenging to reach. By leaving them on the streets, Justin, you already mentioned, it's costing society, like police, fire, emergency room visits. That is expensive. That's for what we call a super user. A 2015 report by Destination Homes, Home Not Found, said it was estimated about 67,000. That was almost 10 years ago. So that cost is probably 80,000 today, about $200 a night. But that is money, how we looked at DignityMoves, that is money that could be repurposed, because trying to deliver outreach on the streets, it's expensive, it's challenging, and a toothbrush and a pair of socks does not solve homelessness. Bringing people indoors with a shelter so they feel secure, they can have a good 8 hours a night sleep, then they begin to focus on what it's going to take and work with their case managers to get out of homelessness. But without that safety, security, people are just in fight or flight modes. And they're constantly looking for food, looking for shelter, trying to reach out of danger. So then, what are some of the solutions of providing shelter? Mayor Kou has talked about affordable housing. But today, the high cost of housing, Mayor touched on, $1 million, that it doesn't take long to see that it's not going to go fast. So for $1 million, we could house maybe a couple of people in a more cost-effective, rapidly deployed unit, the ones that we focus on. And oh, I've lost my train of thought. There's also not only the cost, there's the time it takes to build permanent housing. So it typically is taking about 5 years in the Bay Area. So if you were homeless, you lost your job and you might fall on the streets. At day one, first week, you're kind of okay, you got some hope, you know where to go. After 12 months of being on the streets, you've got physical health has deteriorated, your mental health has quickly deteriorated to the point of trauma that has set in, and then it's much harder for you to come back. And they're the super users of the system. That's what's going to cost like $80,000 a year. So if we can build shelters, if we can build housing, what we call interim temporary housing, where people can be brought in, and we're building units as low as $50,000 a door, and we're using land that otherwise goes unused. Like there might be that parking lot, there might be a yard at Palo Alto that, you know, the city's not sure where it's going to be used. So why don't we take that site, and instead of letting it sit idle, we put units on. And these are rapid deployed structures. They can be put up in a matter of months. We can use emergency building codes so that it's costly, it's less, it's cost effective, but it's quicker. We're bringing people in so they're safe and secure. And then that's making the whole of the community safer, and people can rest easy. They can quickly, they're open to receiving the services that Tom and his team delivers. And it's easier actually to get the staff to work in those those brick and mortar facilities. And we're seeing it in the results. When you're looking at outreach on the streets, it's probably 3, maybe 5% move into permanent housing. In a safe parking lot is higher, it's about 33%. But when you have like a fixed abode and people can stay 6, 7, 8 months or longer, we're seeing it 12 months in San Francisco, that's where you're seeing the real results. And I can take an example of Santa Barbara, units built at 50,000, 35 units, built right downtown in the heart of Santa Barbara. And we made local preference a priority, so everybody's sleeping rough. Within the first week, all the business owners, residents, they saw an immediate improvement. But after a year, we got 85, right, we served 85 people. We got 85% document ready. That means they're ready for the voucher, ready to move on to permanent housing. And then whilst they were staying there down the street, we built affordable housing, or the city, I should say, built affordable housing. And we moved 50 people. 14 of them came from an encampment, and 14 then moved into the affordable housing. So that's like, you know, having that pipeline and having cost-effective, rapidly deployed solutions today, we're going to stop that trauma, and we're going to stop that like very high cost of leaving people on the streets, because it's only going to multiply over time. And today we're doing a lot of work. We're building a lot more affordable permanent housing. But there's like at least for every person that we're getting housed, another 1.7, I think it is, in Santa Clara are falling back into homelessness. And so when we're looking, there's a regional bond that's going to be put on the ballot next year. It's $20 billion, or 10 or $20 billion. And they're the solutions that we want to look at to create not just $1 million units, but maybe we're looking at building like $500,000 units where we can house
Quite an
2 people,
improvement.
twice as many people.
That's quite an improvement, yeah. So thank you, Joanne Price. These are valuable considerations and insights. Let's get back to Tom Myers, who wants to see those who are homeless be able to transform their lives and realize their aspirations and re-engage with society in dignity. Tom?
Well, first a quick shout out to everyone who was involved, actually much more involved than Community Services Agency, in safe parking in Mountain View. We were one voice, but it took an entire community of voices. And then it took some really dedicated faith leaders in Mountain View to create a new thing called Move Mountain View, which is very much an important part of our community now in Mountain View, and becoming a much bigger part of the community in Palo Alto as well. So shout out to them. But I think that's a really, really important point, is no one group can do this. No one group can do this alone. Our organization does basic needs. We don't build housing or anything like that. We do basic needs. But the importance of what we do is that we can get people into things like transitional housing. We can get people into affordable housing. And that's why it takes a whole community coming together to deal with this. And not just being around, I think it's important that we at Community Services Agency don't just look at what is it that's going to make Community Services Agency advance. It's what's going to make groups that are advancing for other things. So we do things like make sure people have food. We have a lunch program that serves lunch every single day. We have case management. I think sometimes the most important service that we provide are things like rental assistance and housing assistance, direct financial assistance, because that keeps people in housing before they become homeless. And that's really the key. You want them to stay in their housing before they have to move into a car, or before they move into an RV, or before they end up on the streets. So that's why homelessness prevention is perhaps one of the most important services that we provide. So, but if they do fall into homelessness, and unfortunately a great many do fall into homeless, we need to have a whole a wide variety of services that are available, whether it's safe parking, whether it's transitional housing, whether it's substance abuse services or domestic violence services. All of these things are part of a network, if you will, that make our communities better.
Well, thank you, Tom, for sharing those valuable insights with us. It's clear that the path forward requires a collective effort. Next, we have a taped interview with Kevin Anderson, whose story of plummeting into homelessness and then turning his life around illustrates what is possible. Let's watch.
My name is Kevin Thomason. You know, one of the things about homelessness is it can happen to anybody. And if you would have looked at my story from the very beginning, there was nothing that would indicate that I would later turn out homeless. In fact, my story kind of points to the opposite. I started out, grew up in an Air Force family. We moved around a lot, but they were a good family. We had no real problems at home. You know, my father liked to drink, but so did a lot of other people's fathers. I ended up going to UC Hastings. I got a law degree. I passed the bar. I practiced law for nearly 20 years, off and on. Had a house, was living the American dream. And, but I wasn't taking care of myself and especially my mental health. And so towards around 2010, I ended up going off my psych meds. I ended up going on kind of like this manic run for about 4 years. By 2014, I was completely broke. I had remarried and then I had separated from my second wife. She wanted to have nothing to do with me. I don't blame her. And by the very end of 2014, I was hogtied in the back of a police car. What affected me was this deep sense of shame and just kind of like this existential idea that if I continued to do what I was doing, I would just continue to get what I was getting. And so I knew that I had to make a big change, a big shift. And what really got me to that point where I knew that I had to make a big shift was literally hitting bottom. And, you know, one bottom was being in the back of that police car. You know, you're hogtied, you're literally face down on the vinyl. So that's one bottom. Another bottom is, you know, you're in jail going to court. They're doing cavity searches when you go get on the bus. You know, I went from riding around literally in the back of limousines when I would do the law stuff to riding around in the back of police or court buses, you know, going to court. And I just saw how rapidly my life had changed, how bad it had become. One thing about this entire experience has been that I no longer take for granted anything in my life. So as people can see, I live on a houseboat, I live on a pier in Sausalito. I do not take this for granted. Every day I wake up and I'm completely grateful that this is where I ended up. I never would have imagined this. And like I said, one of the things before that got me out of where I was at was owning my mistakes, owning my life, seizing it back. And another thing actually is just luck. And sometimes the difference between me and somebody else is just that I might have had good luck at a certain point, or bad luck, or something that I might interpret now as bad luck, which turned out to be good luck. An example might have been that there was a job before this job that I didn't get. Had I got that, I probably wouldn't be here. I'd be living somewhere else. This job that I have now is the ideal job. And one of the reasons it's the ideal job is because I get to give back. I get to help people not become like I was. I get to help people not become homeless. And I run an organization called the Lower Polk, P-O-L-K, Tenant Landlord Clinic. lptlc.org is our website. We help people in San Francisco who are having potential or current problems with their landlords. We also have landlords who are having problems with tenants. And the idea is to keep the tenants sighted. And one of the easiest ways to avoid homelessness is to avoid it. If you don't become homeless, then you don't have to get back up off the street. We've helped literally thousands of people either not become homeless in certain cases, or we've just helped them learn more about what their rights are as tenants or what their responsibilities are as landlords. And those have helped people. And so I'm extremely lucky, extremely blessed to be able to live here, to give back to the community, and to give back to the community that I was once part of, to give back to the homeless community and kind of help people not become homeless. And every day I get up, I make coffee and I just think about how lucky I am.
The key takeaways are that the homeless population in the Bay Area is indeed growing, and local cities and counties are making strides not only to address, but to resolve the overwhelming challenges of homelessness.
We urge everyone to get involved, support local initiatives, advocate for affordable housing, and combat the stigma. For more information, please visit our website, midpenmediacenter.com, for downloadable resources from our guests and other local organizations.
The journey to addressing homelessness is a collective one. We hope this segment inspires you to join the movement for change. Happy holidays, and remember, together we can make a difference in the lives of those who need it most.
Thank you to Mayor Kou, Tom Myers, and Joanne Price, as well as Al Casciato and Kevin Anderson. And thank you to those at home for taking the time to watch and support our Make It Real series. Please tune in next time when we discuss climate change.